¿Crees que esto va de animales? No, esto va de ti. El derecho natural dicta que todo ser vivo nace con derechos inalineables. No los otorga el Estado, no dependen de un papel, son inherentes a la existencia misma. Pero ahora nos dicen que no, que sin un chip no existe el derecho a la vida, que sin estar registrado en una base de datos no hay identidad, que sin una autorización de la autoridad no hay libertad. Si un animal sin chip no tiene derecho a existir, ¿cuánto falta para que una persona sin identificación digital tampoco lo tenga? ¿Castrar se convierte en una obligación del Estado? ¿Cuánto falta para que la reproducción humana sea regulada? Si imponen registros de ADN en animales, ¿cuándo lo harán con nosotros? Si los veterinarios son castigados por curar sin permiso, ¿cuándo los médicos humanos serán castigados por lo mismo? Todo esto ya ha ocurrido antes, cuando un ser vivo necesita papeles para existir, cuando la medicina es privilegio concedido por el poder, cuando la reproducción se convierte en algo que se regula. Es cuestión de tiempo que estas leyes se apliquen a todos. Primero vinieron por los animales, después vendrán por ti. El plan es claro, convertir la vida en una mercancía controlada, decidir quién puede existir y quién no, someter a cada ser vivo en un sistema de permisos y registros, destruir el derecho natural y reemplazarlo con el control absoluto del Estado. Pero hay algo que se olvida, y es que el derecho natural no se concede, no se negocia, no se puede borrar con un decreto. Por eso la resistencia no es una opción, es un deber. No aceptes que el Estado decida quién puede existir, no aceptes que el control se disfrace de bienestar, no aceptes un mundo donde la vida dependa de un permiso. Si resistes, si despiertas, si difundes, todavía estamos a tiempo, porque si aceptamos esto hoy, mañana no quedará nadie para luchar por nosotros. Primero vinieron por los animales, y la gente miró hacia otro lado. Cuando vengan a por ti, ya será demasiado tarde.
Something is deeply wrong with our pets. Cancer is skyrocketing. Autoimmune diseases are everywhere. And more cats and dogs are dying suddenly, in ways no vet can explain. Pet owners are witnessing the unimaginable. Cats, who normally hide away to die, are screaming in pain, clawing at their own faces, and crying for help nobody can give. This isn't normal, and it's not a coincidence. For years, the global elite have claimed that pet dogs and cats are a luxury the planet can't afford. That dogs and cats consume too much, eat too well, and leave too large a carbon footprint. The media were enlisted to push the propaganda. They suggested gently at first that maybe we should start letting go, but we didn't. So now, they've stopped asking. Buried in obscure veterinary studies, a darker strategy is underway. This isn't about messaging anymore, it's about biological control, a silent culling. And behind it, the same name that always seems to surface when depopulation is the goal. Bill Gates. Coming up, how routine pet vaccines are being used as delivery systems for experimental biotech. Patented compounds, mRNA formulas, not designed to protect, but to eliminate. We'll follow the money, the patents, and the players behind it all. Because if this plan succeeds, our pets won't just be in danger, they'll be gone. They started with the cows, the pigs, and the chickens, claiming it was all in the name of sustainability. Then came the push to ban meat, ration dairy, and redefine what it means to eat. But just when we thought we'd seen the worst of the global elite's war on nature, they set their sights on something even closer to home. Our pets. Yes, you heard that right. Mainstream media outlets, almost in unison, began quietly dropping articles, expert opinions, and think pieces, urging us to reconsider pet ownership. CNN published an article on their website recently entitled, "Our Pets Are Part of the Climate Problem." These tips can help you minimize their carbon footprints. In the article, the liberal sadists at CNN argue that the meat-heavy diet of many household pets is causing global boiling. Responsible pet owners should trade in their best friend for a reptile to save the planet. Snakes, turtles, and reptiles can have a really low impact, CNN suggests. Your kitty cat and pooch, CNN explains, are going to have to eat bugs just like you, assuming the global elite allow you to keep them at all in the future. Bloomberg, another mouthpiece of the global elite, jumped on the bandwagon at the same time, urging pet owners to let their pets die to fight inflation. Hollywood celebrity Emma Thompson went even further, telling pet owners to eat their own pets to survive the so-called climate crisis. But the public didn't bite. Nobody was willing to give up their best friend just to lower a fictional carbon score. So now, the elites are done asking. Behind closed doors and buried in obscure veterinary studies, a chilling plan has emerged. It's not just about behavioural modification anymore, it's about biological warfare, a silent culling, as Dr. Judy Jasek explains.
They're using mRNA technology in animal vaccines, and we know they're not testing this stuff. The test is same. It's the same as on the human side. Remember, veterinary medicine is just a branch of the same big pharmaceutical companies that are doing their shenanigans with people. It's the same in vet med, and probably worse because I think we even have less knowledge about what's going into these vaccines. But I do know, because I've seen ads, they're saying, well, they're coming out with mRNA technology. Well, at the same time, we're seeing the cancer rates go up in pets and younger pets. And I'm sure that's due to toxicity in the vaccine. So I'd say the level, the amount of disease and the severity of disease is definitely on the increase.
And at the centre of it all, a name we've heard before. A man who's already attempted to rewrite the human genetic code, re-engineer the global food supply, and redefine medicine as we know it. Bill Gates. This time, it's not only humanity that he's targeting, it's our pets. Funneling his money through Zoetis, a Pfizer subsidiary, Gates and his cronies, including Mark Zuckerberg, are stealth vaccinating the world's animals with mRNA, including our pet cats and dogs without our consent.
Actually, there's a company, a subsidiary company of Pfizer. It's called Zoetis, Z-O-T-I-S. Do you know they've already mRNA injected 100 million wildlife in America? I guarantee you they're doing it to pets too. It's only mRNA technology, funded completely by Mark Zuckerberg and his wife's foundation. They've been doing it all over the country for the whole last year and a half. Zoetis is its name. It's a subsidiary of Pfizer.
This is some real sugar, honey, iced tea.
You ain't lying. You know what's interesting? When I learned about Zoetis and this sugar, honey, iced tea, because that's what it was to me. You know who would know? Do you know who were the only people that knew that the wildlife, deer, for example, elk, for example, were actually being mRNA injected for COVID? It was all the hunters. Hunters, it was being published in hunters magazines. I'm not a hunter, but hunters were aware the whole time that this was actually being done, and it was being published inside their literature. I had no idea. But when I discovered it, I was like, what? Why is no one talking about this? When I discovered it on Staten Island, Zuckerberg and his wife funded a research study. They went out and gathered up 100 white-tailed deer and then PCR tested them all for COVID and then injected them all with the mRNA vaccines from Pfizer with this company called Zoetis, and then went and did 100 million animals. 100 million doses have been administered at that point all throughout the country, and no one knew it, and no one's talked about it.
Have you ever seen what happens to a cat after receiving the Pfizer mRNA vaccine? What you're about to see is deeply disturbing, but it's crucial to witness the reality. This isn't a mild reaction, it's sheer panic, shaking, disorientated, terrified, completely out of control. This is not normal, and it's not rare. The truth is, when you talk to honest veterinarians, the ones not bought and paid for, they'll tell you, most pet cat and dogs don't need the vaccines they're being given. The so-called recommended schedule pushed by the CDC and major veterinary associations is not based on science, it's based on profit. Just like the overpacked vaccine schedule for children, the pet vaccine schedule has been inflated, manipulated, and monetized.
Why is it that this 1 cc dose of rabies vaccine, this is the amount that we gave to a 150-pound Great Dane, and we're giving the same vaccine volume to a teeny little 3-pound toy poodle? How can that be? And then you really start to wonder, why are we seeing a rising incidence of cancer in our dogs? If I had to point towards a few things to really look at, I'd look towards over-vaccination. Because when we bombard our dogs, our cats, with multiple antigens every year, multiple foreign bodies that we're injecting into them, what do we think is going to happen? You can have an inappropriate immune response. You have the immune system not being able to work the way it should be, allowing for things like uncontrolled cell growth, hence cancer. There are some vaccine protocols that can list up to 8 to 9 different vaccines potentially given to your dog, given to your cat, almost yearly. It's a pile of vaccines.
The truth is, pet vaccines may be even more dangerous than the ones pushed on humans. For years, veterinarians have quietly watched the consequences unfold. Cats and dogs developing tumours at injection sites, suffering from autoimmune disorders, and in some cases, dying after so-called routine rabies shots. But now these vets are breaking ranks. They're speaking out against the pharmaceutical cartel that's culling our pets. And at the centre of it all is a name that keeps appearing, Bill Gates. because this was never about protection, it was about profit control and depopulation. When you look at the numbers and at what's already been done to both humans and our pets, the scale of it all is staggering. Meet Dr. John Robb, a courageous and principled veterinarian who's had enough of taking orders from big pharma and government regulators. After years on the front lines, he's blowing the whistle on a system he says is designed not to heal, but to harm. According to Dr. Robb, he was pressured to over-vaccinate, despite knowing the risks. In his words, they weren't asking him to protect animals, they were ordering him to poison them.
There are thousands of pets dying out there every day. While we sat at this table, 6 pets died in the United States from a rabies vaccine they didn't need. Anybody can walk in here, sit down, and say whatever they want. But I gave you science. I said to the state board, if I had to kill an animal to obey that law, would I have to do it? They said yes. One rabies vaccine is good for life. All this is unnecessary. If that dog had a titer check, it would not need a vaccination. So this is the real problem here. I had put upstairs in the public health department 45 articles that show vaccines are dose dependent. Titers indicate immunity. It's been proven.
Okay, but who's the we? Who's the we?
The researchers. The researchers. These are the researchers. They're the ones who do the research.
Okay, I've spent a career in the pharmaceutical.
And I've spent a career being a veterinarian watching animals die from rabies vaccines.
I think I have before, but I completely don't agree with what you're saying.
Do you know of any studies that the vaccine can sometimes create other health concerns for animals? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You get tumors at the injection sites, you get autoimmune diseases that start later in life, but you get the immediate reactions. Some dogs die immediately of anaphylaxis, others get just serum sickness and they vomit, maybe hide under the bed for a day or two. But if I lower my dose, right, to protect the animal, then I'm in trouble. So I have to do what the manufacturer says, and like the State Board of Connecticut said, if I have to kill my pet, I have to kill my pet. It's the law. Well, guess what? I have a Hippocratic oath that is greater than any law that's passed in the state of Connecticut that would make me kill my patient. I won't do it.
Dr. John Robb paid the price for refusing to play along with the global depopulation agenda, this time targeting our pets. For standing up to Big Pharma and speaking out against unnecessary dangerous vaccines, Dr. Robb dared to put the health of animals above profit. He refused to inject cats and dogs with risky compounds, including the new wave of experimental mRNA technology being quietly introduced into veterinary medicine. He saw the tumours, the autoimmune disorders, and the pets who never recovered. And he spoke out.
What's the problem here? The problem in veterinary medicine is no fear of God. Now you might say, well, why am I bringing God into this? Because that's the foundation of the Protect the Pets movement. In other words, this is my calling. I didn't become a veterinarian because I decided to be a veterinarian. This is a calling from God. And because I fear God and not man, then I've got to do what God calls me to do. Okay? Now, I talk about morals. I consider morals to be from God. I consider ethics to be from man. And ethics can change. But morals, since we didn't make them, are always the same. And you can't compromise your morals. You've heard things like walk in your integrity. Okay? That's the problem right now in any place, America, other countries, is when people aren't willing to do that no matter what the cost. Okay? This movement to protect pets has reached millions of people all over the world. And it's reached those people because I refuse to compromise my morals to keep my veterinary license. I refuse to compromise my morals to keep my practice. I refuse to compromise my morals when this evil company named Mars was trying to buy me off and get me out or pay me off to stop, because I wouldn't do it. because I was called to speak the truth, and it's not something that I was willing to compromise. I wasn't willing to compromise as a veterinarian in terms of treatment of your pets by over-vaccinating them or overdosing them. To do that would be to compromise my morals for money, which unfortunately is in many instances the standard of care in veterinary medicine. It's a compromise of morals for money.
Dr. Rob isn't backing down. He's made it clear. He'll never sell out to the globalists or the big pharma machine. Instead, he's calling on all of us to rise up before it's too late. Because this isn't just about pets. It's about control, consent, and the right to protect the ones we love from the globalist tyrants who are seizing the right to control who has the right to live and who must die.
God is greater. And he'll put a hedge of protection around you. But you know what? There are so many that's gone before us that were willing to lay down their lives because they wouldn't compromise their morals, and sometimes they did. But those people spurred so many great movements in history where people took control again out of those who were immoral, walking without God, because they would stood up for their rights as individual human beings and the freedom that we have as human beings to make the right choices for us in our lives. And we know right now there's a lot going on in the other direction.
The USDA last year approved self-amplifying mRNA injections for our cats and our dogs for rabies and a few other things. And these are authorized and they're widely available for online purchase. And so veterinarians across the country are currently injecting self-amplifying mRNA into our pets. This can probably shed onto humans, and this has to be stopped.
Has it started?
Awareness
Has that started
needs to be
yet?
raised.
Has that started
Yes.
yet?
Yes. If you look up Novavax NXT, it's the platform developed by Merck. You will find it online, and you can even buy it. It's possible if their dogs or cats receive the Novavax NXT self-amplifying RNA particles, it's possible they are either shedding the self-amplifying RNA or the antigen products that the dogs or cats are now producing onto the owners through bodily fluids. And so none of this was tested, by the way. They just authorized it anyways because they don't care. And so it's completely unknown really at this point.
Did an interview with Dr. Faulkner, our homeopathic vet, a couple of days ago, and he said that that will be released in a couple of weeks. And he was talking about a new rabies vaccine called rabies-NXT, which stands for Rabies Next, and it's a self-amplifying RNA vaccine for rabies for dogs. And he said the problem with it, all the side effects are exactly what you would see in a dog that has rabies. They've gone from tepid and mild to aggressive to biting to salivating to angry and all the different things that happen with rabies. And I said, well, if that's an saRNA vaccine, that means it will continue to replicate and make the imprint of rabies. Is that going to be spread to humans? I mean, if your dog licks you, licks you, your dog's always wanting to lick you, lick your hand, your face, and all these other things. Is rabies going to be spread to humans? He said, nobody knows. Nobody's really looked at that. I said, oh, that's just great.
USDA quietly approved Merck's self-amplifying messenger RNA. The USDA has not conducted any long-term testing and consequently has not warned the public. Merck has launched a new rabies vaccine called Novavax NXT, which is based on saRNA, and veterinarians are now rolling it out across the United States. The saRNA replicates in your dog or cat's body and spreads throughout its organs and brain. Long-term effects? Unknown. Side effects? Oh, increased aggression, excess salivation, seizures, vertigo, paralysis, and death. There was no long-term long-term safety research by an independent lab. Instead, research was conducted by Merck's own Intervet lab over 14 days. That's right, 14. And the results were neither peer-reviewed nor made available to the public. 38 dogs and cats were used for the experimental study, and 35 of those test pets were euthanized after the 2-week research period. And there are other vaccines in the Merck saRNA lineup, such as Novavax NXT feline leukemia vaccine for cats. Then there is the Novavax NXT canine flu vaccine for dogs. Then there's the shedding. There is limited data on shedding from pets, but if you jab your pet with saRNA, you can bet your boots that you won't like the shedding if it happens. Make sure you have a veterinarian who informs you precisely what's in the vaccinations they give your pets before administering them, or find a veterinarian who is willing to tell you. Meanwhile, Big Pharma and Big Food are injecting messenger RNA into farmyard animals, incorporating it into cosmetics, skincare supplements, dental products such as anesthetic shots, floss, and toothpaste, and they are also planning to spray fields of vegetables with messenger RNA.
Soy la doctora Liliana Celada Ruc. Esta es una vacuna contra la rabia canina y felina, vacuna inactivada para la prevención de la rabia, Vagovac. Esta es la gota fresca. Hoy es 31 de agosto del 2024 e inmediatamente vemos esas imágenes. Aquí hay más. Ahí hay más. Aquí ya vemos como si fuera un cordón en movimiento. Parece la nanotecnología de la Pfizer. Esta gota estaba refrigerada. Es una vacuna vigente. Ya venció en mayo del 24 y fue fabricada en mayo del 2022. Podemos ver esa formación al vivo, vamos a decir. Va a incluir esa burbuja. Todo tiene nanotecnología, vacunas del calendario, vacunas COVID, las vacunas para los animales. Ahí se detuvo un poco, sigue avanzando. Vemos el hidrogel, ese es el hidrogel presente. Están poniendo en todo. Vacuna para la rabia canina a una semana de la gota seca. Los cuerpos extraños de siempre, cintas. Otro más. Uno grande. Óxido de grafeno. El cuerpo extraño que se ve en todas partes. No sé si actúa de antena, qué hará ese cuerpo que está ahí en todo. En las vacunas del calendario, en las COVID, en los inyectables, en la de los animales. Aquí otro. Mucha contaminación. Estas vacunas le están poniendo a nuestros animales. Se unan ahora los veterinarios que analicen al microscopio y que nos digan qué es toda esta porquería que se ve acá. Es demasiado. Esto quiero que vean que es terrorífico.
Esto del terror, es del terror, doctora.
Es del terror.
Esta imagen es del terror.
Esta imagen yo la tengo ya filmada, pasé el video y esa imagen yo la vi a la gota fresca. El mismo día que saqué la gota la vi y miren lo que es ahora, ha cambiado sí de color y es la misma vacuna de la rabia para caninos y felinos. Miren ahí, son cuerpos extraños. Ahí hay otra cinta. Vamos a ver un producto que se llama Artrosan, que es para caninos y felinos. ¿Ya? Artrosan. Y este Artrosan viene a ser, vamos a ver qué viene a ser el Artrosan, para artritis. Para las artritis. Y aquí vamos a poner otra gotita. Artrosan. Y es de entrada, ni siquiera uno tiene que hacer mucho para buscar. Vamos a ver si encontramos cosas más feitas. Ahí hay el movimiento de la gota fresca. Ahí hay más. Perdón, Alberto, si yo mientras yo puedo ir dando vueltitas, tú si nos puedes seguir comentando.
A mí me da impresión, en las diapositivas, bueno, las imágenes, que se alcanza a ver como un fondo, pero no es un fondo regular. Como si hubiera un gel semitransparente que se alcanza a hacer visible. Una especie de gel.
Y será el hidrogel famoso también que nos los están colando con las vacunas.
Sí, sí.
Alberto, mira, hay un comentario, Alberto, doctora. Por acá, Mónica dice, mi perro murió este verano días después de inocularse con una inyección llamada Librela para la artrosis, que es la que está analizando la doctora. Mira, ahí está.
Esta es para la artrosis. Acá, y ahí está la contaminación, bueno, ahí están. ¿Qué son esos cuerpos extraños, no? Me imagino que también irán a formar coágulos, romperán arterias. Miren la cantidad de cosas extrañas. Y todo ilumina, ¿no? Ahí hay otro.
Mientras la doctora ahí sigue operando, estimado Alberto, por acá pregunta, ¿qué relación podría haber con esos animales que giraban en círculo?
Miren esto, miren esta figura, perdón que te corte, sí. Jorge.
Adelante, adelante.
Pero quería que veas el tamaño de esa, otro tamaño, de colores. Aquí hay una cinta también, a ver. Es que hay que ver en dos dimensiones. Mira, arriba se ve una cosita y al fondo se ven otras.
Sí, como que hay un fondo ahí.
Sí.
Pero no es homogéneo. No es homogéneo. Y si fuera un inyectable, hasta donde yo sé, tradicional o legal, tendría que ser homogéneo y diáfano. ¿Qué pasó ahí?
Exactamente. Ahí, miren esa figura rara también, ¿ven?
Sí.
¿Qué son esas cosas?
I'd say about 70% of what I see is vaccine injury.
If I gave you a brand new little puppy today, would you give that puppy any vaccines, you personally?
Probably not. And almost everything is vaccine injury. I tell people there are like four main causes of disease. There's vaccines, the major part, the flea and tick products, another poison we're putting in the animals, pharmaceuticals, also bad, and emotions can cause problems as well.
¿Qué pasa con la vacunación antirrábica? Muchos de ustedes han preguntado respecto a la capacidad, sobre todo veterinarios. Y algún producto creo que hemos visto. De que en todo tipo de inyectables, incluidos los que van para nuestros animales, porque también pueden sufrir el fenómeno de la neuroestimulación, a saber lo que tienen preparado para el ser humano y enfrentar incluso a los animales, pues aparece este material, ¿vale? Entonces, si en la vacuna antirrábica va este material que tiene como consecuencia distribuirse en la línea del tejido de conducción eléctrica del cuerpo, como es el sistema nervioso central, va a provocar todo tipo de alteraciones del mismo, como por ejemplo parálisis, no solo facial, sino de inmovilización de miembros, etcétera. Algo parecido le ha pasado a esta perrita, miren ustedes.
Soltala, despacito. Se lo estaba soltando la perra, no puede apoyar bien los pies y se empieza a soltar nomás. Acá y ella no puede levantarse por sus propios medios, tiene como fuera una paraplegia. Empezó desde el domingo, que se vacunó contra la rabia, acá en el barrio San Bernardo. Vino un auxiliar y estudiantes de la policía. A ella ya una pierna, una pata trasera no la levantaba y ahora las dos no las puede levantar y ahora prácticamente se arrastra. Es una pena, pero es lo que está pasando.
Bueno, como ustedes han visto, probablemente el animal hasta se haya orinado porque no controla, pues tiene descontrol de esfínteres también.
Comenzamos. Ganaderos de varias provincias andaluzas se han concentrado hoy para denunciar la muerte de sus ovejas. Se cuentan por centenares las ovejas que se han muerto. No saben determinar qué es lo que está pasando, pero esto coincide con la puesta de una nueva vacuna contra la lengua azul, aseguran los ganaderos. Reclaman una solución, piden ayudas para compensar las cuantiosas pérdidas económicas. Muchos de estos ganaderos están preparando la campaña de Navidad y están desolados, desesperados.
Mira, ahí tienes 9 muertas de ayer para acá.
Se le hinchan la cabeza, se quedan delgadas porque no quieren comer, con mucha fiebre.
Llevo por lo menos una semana que para mí se queda. Dátemelo porque tengo 400 ovejas.
A mí me han puesto 2 vacunas y de ponerme las 2 vacunas eso se ha corrido como la pólvora.
De 1000 ovejas estamos recogiendo entre 15 o 20 ovejas muertas diarias.
Me he muerto una oveja, ¿no? Una vaca, sí. Pero esto de pronto, esta cantidad de animales buenas, gordas, buenas, y se quedan delgadas 24 horas, 36 horas. Eso no lo he visto yo en mi vida, hombre.
Son ganaderos que hoy aunan sus fuerzas, las pocas que le quedan, ante una situación, dicen, jamás vivida.
Hemos puesto la vacuna a la 3, las ovejas mías han empezado a tirarse al suelo y a morirse como chinchi.
La vacuna contra la lengua azul,
contra la lengua azul,
por prevención porque venía de Portugal, ¿no?
He sacado sangre, ha venido el veterinario, me ha sacado sangre para analizarla y me ha dicho que ahora posiblemente que sea la heterotipo 8.
Sí, empezó en Portugal, de Portugal pasó a Extremadura, de Extremadura pasó a Huelva, ahora estamos empezando aquí en Sevilla, pero esto va a galope tendido.
Se me han muerto unas 70, 80 muertas y infectadas así como esas de ahí, habrá la mitad. Vamos, caen muchísimas, están cayendo más del 10% de las piaras que tenemos.
Ganaderos que pierden su medio de vida y aseguran sin poder hacer nada.
Empezaron a salir 2 o 3 malas. Entonces esas 2 o 3 malas mi marido le iba poniendo lo que le dijo el veterinario, para que le vaya quitando la cojera, porque empezaron a ponerse cojas, muy delgadas, y de momento vino el veterinario diciendo que había que vacunar. Tantos meses esperando ese borrego, que yo de lo que como es de eso, mi casa, y ahora me están malpariendo. Se me están muriendo y me están malpariendo. ¿Qué hago?